Hi everybody, Adam Steele from Hot Pole Studios here, and today I'm going to be looking at Metatune from Slate Digital. This is kind of an extended version of what we covered on the Produce Like a Pro channel, where Warren Hewitt, my good friend, did a full review, and I did a small piece of using it in Reaper. So today I'm going to be kind of looking at all the things that Metatune can do. Just so you know, before we begin, there is a giveaway going on right now on the Produce Like a Pro channel. The link is in our description below here, where you can win one of 3 Slate Digital All Access Pass subscriptions. And it's really cool. It includes Metatune, including a lot of other stuff that I use as well. So let's move straight on to this. This is the song Mr. Sandman, which is the song that I was playing on Warren's channel there. So let's have a dive in and look at the verse vocal, because that has Metatune on. All the vocals do, but this has some specific things that I've been playing with. So it sounds like this.
You got it all. I see you're drinking twice as much this time. There's something in the drink that you can't see, and you're so oblivious to it. Something that he could only risk with his own life. Now you're the victim of his needs. Now you conceive this potion of the night, and you slowly catch his eye.
All right, so that's the verse vocal, and I've done a few things with automation here, but let's start with the basics. So the tuner starts off in chromatic mode, which, if we look at the keys, the purple ones that are all lit up here, in chromatic mode, any note that you're close to, it will go to the closest semitone. What we've done instead is we've chosen the particular key of the song, and it's a nice little shortcut here, the chromatic button. So we can go to G sharp minor, and that now is only allowing it to tune to the notes that are in this key. So let's hit play and play around with the retune speed. So I'm going to reset this thing called sustain, and we'll come back to that in just a second. The sustain is how fast or slow we get the auto-tune effect, or the automatic tune effect, should I say, which at 200 milliseconds we're going to get almost nothing.
You got it all. I see you're drinking twice as much this time. There's something in the drink that you can't see.
So the reason that we went with these particular takes on this song is that they are quite kind of emotionally charged. It's a definite rock and roll kind of thing where it's off pitch quite a lot, but it's not out by an offensive amount. But at 200 milliseconds, you can hear not quite a lot is happening. At 0 milliseconds, we get that kind of T-Pain effect.
You got it all. I see you're drinking twice as much this time. There's something in the drink that
And there's a really cool thing where we can go beyond 0 milliseconds and actually go to minus, and this then forces that glitchy style thing to happen.
You got it all. I see you're drinking twice as much this time. There's something in the drink that you can't see, and you're so oblivious to it.
Not my kind of thing, but if you're going for that real hard tuned stylistic thing, that's how you do that. You can actually go into like ultra glitch there. I found that I liked somewhere between about 30 milliseconds.
You got it all. I see you're drinking twice as much this time.
But I can still hear a bit of the glitching thing going on, and 100 milliseconds, which wasn't quite doing enough tuning.
You got it all. I see you're drinking twice as much this time. There's something in the drink that you can't see, and you're so.
Now, that's where this sustain feature comes in. This is really cool. What I can do is set a speed for the retuning that's kind of a middle ground, and then I can increase this sustain so that if any notes go on longer, it starts to really lock the longer notes in without doing the glitchy effect on the short notes, which you'll see this purple line here start to flick.
You got it all. I see you're drinking twice as much this time. There's something in the drink that you can't see, and you're so oblivious to it.
So at that point, it's really locking down on the long notes and letting the shorter notes kind of go a little bit. The other way you can use it is you can go minus sustain. So what you can do is have a really short retune, and then as it gets longer, it lets them be more human. So here's an extreme example of that.
You got it all. I see you're drinking twice as much this time. There's something in the drink that you can't see, and you're so oblivious to it. Something that he can only risk with his own life.
All right, now what I found is that I liked it, as you could see when we first loaded it up. So it's slightly a slower retune speed, but it really does grab the shorter notes and pull them in.
You got it all. I see you're drinking twice as much this time. There's something in the drink that.
There is a thing as well called note stabilizer, which so if it's a short note stabilizer, it doesn't correct the really short kind of painting notes in the middle, which means you get a more natural kind of sound overall and stops with the auto-tune glitch while still being quite precise overall.
You got it all. I see you're drinking twice as much this time. There's something in the drink that you can't see, and you're so oblivious to it. Something that he can only.
Now, I think on the verse vocal, I'm going to stick with that, because then the mid really doesn't affect any of the shorter notes at all. But then if they're not on pitch, that can be an issue. And then the long notes, it doesn't affect anything at all, apart from the big vibrato-y stuff. Which, again, that can be a thing. The notes I was saying were in G sharp minor, but in G sharp minor, there should be an E. What I was finding is that I'll just turn that on. I've got an automation lane here in Reaper. So if I open the automation, this is a crazy number of things I can automate. This is every possible parameter of every plugin that's on this track. So it's a scary thing to look at, but all we're looking at is this bit over here. This is all the parameters of Metatune. So just to make this a bit less dizzying, I'm going to minimize the other plugins. So now we can just see Metatune here, and then basic volume pan and things above that. So I've shown the E notes, and what you can do there is you can disable that E note so it won't even allow it to retune to that. I could show all of these and then do them individually, but for what I'm doing, I only need the one. And so let's just hear a little bit of this with the E note in, and you should see on the heat map, you can see the heat map. Just to talk about the heat map, is if the singer keeps going to a note over and over, it starts to light up. And you can see how Tom the singer was consistently a little bit sharp on an F sharp, which makes sense because that's the 7th of the song and it was a slightly lifted flat 7. But if we're being completely strict with it, that is still sharp and shouldn't be. So
As much this time, there's something in the drink that you can't see, and you're so oblivious to it.
you could probably hear a little bit there that it was floating up towards the E quite a bit, and that just shouldn't be there. This part's almost pentatonic, so we're just removing that E completely.
As much this time, there's something in the drink that you can't see, and you're so oblivious to it. Something.
So that's something you can do. And the other thing that's really cool is the doubler. I'm just going to disable this automation for a second. So the doubler, this is really clever. So it's got two axes here. The left to right is how wide it is, and up and down is how much of it we have. So I can keep going across the bottom, and as long as it's on 0% dry wet, we're not going to hear anything. So let's start with it completely in mono and bring this up, and you'll hear how it suddenly sounds like two vocals, and it's really quite accurate.
As much this time, there's something in the drink that you can't see, and you're so oblivious to
And now I'm going to pull that to the right and make it wider and wider and wider until it becomes crazy wide.
As much this time, there's something in the drink that you can't see, and you're so oblivious to it. Something that he could only risk with his own life. Now you're the victim of his needs. Now you conceive this potion of the night.
So what you can see I've done here is I've enabled this as the doubler's dry wet control, and I'm going to make this kind of 50% stereo pan so that it's stereo but it's not ultra stupid wide. And you can see this blue line here where I've now enabled it so that on the second half of the verse it becomes like a doubled vocal, and so it suddenly takes it up a notch.
Can't see, and you're so oblivious to it. Something that he could only risk with his own life. Now you're the victim of his needs. Now you conceive this potion of the night, and you slowly catch his eye. They call him Mr. Sandman. That's all.
And at that point, we get to the chorus where I can talk about a couple of other things. Now, the groups on the side of the plugin here are really time-saving tools. So the chorus vocal here has exactly the same metatune, and they're both in the same group. And you'll see as I move the doubler around on one, you can see the other one move. So any settings that we land on, like I think I had this on more like 70 milliseconds, but with more sustain. That is how I had it originally. And that's now affected the chorus and the verse on separate tracks without me having to copy and paste and do it all twice. And the reason that this sounds huge is that I have a second vocal behind on the chorus. And that has the doubler kind of on crazy, ultra wide, loads of it. So while the main chorus one is right down the middle,
Call him Mr. Sandman, I don't mind. He'll come.
the other one is super wide,
Call him Mr. Sandman, I don't mind. He'll come.
and together,
Call him Mr. Sandman, I don't mind. He'll come to watch you while you sleep at night. You wanna.
and the second one here is in its own group, so it doesn't then affect the main vocal. But you might see group 2 here has 6 in it, and that's where we get to this backing vocal that's on the choruses. So this is 6 vocals over here that have 6 copies of Metatune with the doubler on, with the sustain and the speed all set, and the E removed again. And the fact that they're drenched in delay and reverb doesn't work so well with this global bypass. So this is now turned off on every track. Ugh. And back on again. You can see the heat map for one of these tracks. Let's just see. There's a different note here. But because those are much more in tune than before, I'm feeling confident to bring them up in volume.
He'll come to watch you while you sleep at night. You wanna be the princess in his dreams, and he'll slip away with you. You know what I mean.
So yeah, there's a lot to go at in Metatune. It looks simple, but it's got these hidden features that really start to save you a lot of time and do a lot more of the kind of things that I would have been using with a different tuning software previously. Of course, if you really, really need to dive in and do it manually, Melodyne is still an option. Even Stephen Slate himself said that if that's manual tuning is what you need, then this is not manual tuning. But this could save me a ton of time, and that doubler is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, check these out. Get the Slate bundle if you don't already have it. If you do have it, update and get this on your computer. If you don't and you want to win the Slate All Access Pass, like I said, you can win one of 3 subscriptions. That link is down in the description. So thank you everybody for watching. I'm Adam Steele for Hot Pole Studios, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
Hey everyone, that might be the end of the video, but if you fancy carrying on this conversation, we have a Discord server, link is in the description. We're also on Patreon, which is something you can really help us with. We also are on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Hot Pole Studios. See you there.